Senator Anthony Hardy Williams is a leading Democrat and a recent gubernatorial candidate. He's regularly worked across the political aisle enacting legislation to benefit the people of Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. We did have this beautiful speech for his wife to speak on his behalf, but since he's here, we'll have him speak for himself. Thank you very much.
My extreme apologies for being so tardy and so late. It's not, that's all right, thanks. That's not my norm, but I have been traveling a little bit across Pennsylvania, so I got back in town a little bit late. My wife was scheduled to come, and she knew I was coming back a little bit early, so she told me that I had to took us here on time. Before I talk about the man of the moment, I gotta talk about two specific people. Rodney Little. If you don't know Rodney Little, you need to get to know him. There are a few people in life that you can lay upon them the term friend. That means if you're not doing well in life, if you're not what people would describe as successful, if you're not as polished as you should be, there are a few people that you'll meet along the way will lift you up, dust you off, and straighten you out. I met Rodney over 20 years ago, before I was a guy in public service, before I had the opportunity to run for governor across Pennsylvania, to be pretty well known for, not me, but for a box I carried around. And he was a guy who took me under his wing a long time ago. And I'm gonna tell you, there's no more extraordinary person tonight than a dear friend of David O's and mine, Rodney Little. Let's give him a round of applause. The other person I have to acknowledge is the person who called me to make sure I was gonna get here. My wife has endured public service the entire time I've held public office. And I mean endured. Tonight is Friday night. It literally is like 48 hours before the most religious moment in my entire life. That's the start of football season. And so, she knows that she's an orphan to politics and a widow to football. And so there's precious few days in between, and Friday night would be her night. And she said to me, look, Rodney and David are friends of ours. We're going to be there because they've been there for us. And so she actually made me to make sure I got here on time. I was traveling, I was a little bit tired. She made sure that regardless of those circumstances that we're going to be here. So I like to applaud my wife. Yeah.
I just didn't want to give the speech.
And to the man of the hour, I've known David for a while, and I got to give this preface because people always wonder why is a Democrat coming out to support a Republican. I'm a Democratic board leader. I'm a banner of the party. They give me all these terms now of endearment. They didn't like me before, but now I'm popular, so now they like me. But that said, in council races, you have to protect. You have a minority and a majority, and in this case, the Republicans are a minority, and they actually have two people at a minimum that we will select as nominees. And so I'm allowed to come out and publicly support somebody who's a Republican because we're going to have Republican leadership. David O is an extraordinary person, and probably many of you in this room, I don't need to tell you this. But some of the things you don't know about David. He grew up literally 2.5 blocks from me. I lived on Cobb Street Parkway, and he lived on 58th and Thomas, which is 2 blocks from my house. He grew up there, way back when. So I lived in a neighborhood which was dominated by people of color, specifically African Americans. Obviously, David is a brother of some sorts, but he's not that type of brother. And if you meet David, David is a guy who hung in that hood. If you took him to any VFW post in Pennsylvania, he would be greeted because he's a man of service and put his life on the line for this country. He's a guy who's proud of his heritage and his background, so he's not a person by assimilation who's forgot his roots. He's a person who can walk into this law firm and be accepted because of his talents and his abilities. David O is an American hero and an extraordinary story in and of itself. And sometimes for politics, and I've seen a lot of this, people are quite ambitious. And that seems to be all they are, is ambitious. They use labels, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, right-wing, left-wing. They use those terms as if they mean something in the quality and condition of one's life, and they don't. David O is a hard worker and a smart person. Regardless of what position or title position, what partisan labels attached to him, David trends to what is fair and appropriate for people. And God knows Philadelphia has seen better days. And the person who holds office and counsel with this administration will be challenged. Our economy will still be chugging along at a snail's pace. People will be challenged with safety issues, educational issues, health issues. They will be confronted with a constrained budget and limited resources and what is not just one neighborhood, but all neighborhoods. Not just one demographic, but for all demographics. Not for just seniors, but for all people who want to reside in this wonderful city. David O deserves to go to City Council, and I'm proud to endorse him tonight.